Welcome to the Wrestling Universe channel. My name is Cosk, and today I am joined by Hakeem. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you, sir. I'm so happy to be here.
Today is the first review of Impact that we're doing. It's a weekly podcast. Hakeem will, on most weeks, there's always exceptions, but on most weeks will be the co-host of this podcast. Very happy to have him as the co-host. And this was a hell of an episode to start off with because a man was burnt alive on the show.
Oh yeah, was it? He got burned to a crisp from what we saw.
I'm not about all filler no filler, so let's just start right off the bat. Eddie Edwards, Frankie Kazarian, the heart and soul of this company, basically. What did you think of this match?
Definitely was a solid way to start off the show. Those two are just like the backbones of what good wrestling is. Though, and I will definitely say the highlight for me was just Alicia Edwards just constantly interfering, and man, that DDT was that happened at one point in the match. Whew, God, that was something else. But what do you think about the match?
I am a big Frankie Kazarian fan. Like, I have been for a while. I thought he was super underutilized in AEW. I feel like
Mm,
Kazarian. I thought he was going to be the world champion until Alex Shelley won it because he was kind of building it up as his destiny. But that's Alex Shelley's story now, so it feels like, you can't have like these two stories be like so similar and happen like a similar time, especially when you have Alexander's return coming hopefully soon. You have Nick
yeah.
Aldis going after the world title. So like, I don't know, like this was a great match. Not to deviate from the points, there was this moment especially where Frankie Kazarian hit this brutal looking DDT on the apron, which I thought
Yep,
killed
that
Eddie
one.
Edwards.
Yeah. Oh man, that was brutal right there. But to say, that was honestly that was definitely one of the high spots of the match right there. But overall, though, as impressive as that was, it didn't help Frankie in the end because Alicia Edwards got Kendra the kendo stick and basically hit Kazarian in the leg and thus allowing Eddie to capitalize and pick up the victory.
Yeah, like this match was essentially a setup match. It was, hey, this is 50% of what we can do. You're gonna see the next 100%. You're gonna see like the full capacity of what we can do as great workers at Slammiversary. So like as this match was going on before they announced it, which we will get to later, it really felt like a preview match for a bigger match, which now we know will happen at Slammiversary, because as we find out later on in the program, Kazarian challenges Eddie Edwards to a rubber match, but not just that. He will have a manager of his own, someone very familiar with this company, the one, the only, his wife, Tracy Brooks. What did you think about that?
Oh, it's always good to see the original Knockout make her appearance again in Impact. And hey, we saw what happened last time when Tracy Brooks got involved during a high-profile match at Slammiversary last year when she basically beat up Maria Kanellis. So, Alicia, you about to end up in a similar situation, and Lord only helps her if Tracy gets a weapon that could end up breaking Kenny or Kendra the kendo stick, because otherwise Lord, she gonna be in trouble. But yeah, as you said, this was definitely felt like they weren't going exactly at their 100%. This kind of again, as they say, was the rubber match, and I definitely imagine at Slammiversary they are going to really give it their all. But as opposed to who is gonna come out on top, the jury is out. But you know what? These two are have some great chemistry, but then again, they are great wrestlers, and you can't expect anything else from talented individuals like them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we've hit the nail on the head with this one. Like, two great wrestlers, not really in the title scene, but like just this feud is essentially a feud for fans who care about wrestling, right? Like it's not like a super investing story. There's a story, but not like a super investing one. It's just two great wrestlers having great wrestling matches, which I like wrestling. Shockingly, a guy who owns a wrestling channel who really likes wrestling, so I'm never gonna
Yeah,
complain about that.
exactly.
Next up, we had Lio Rush and Nick Aldis got a promo. Lio Rush introducing himself, saying like he's in this company not to make friends, to win titles. Nick Aldis comes and says, "You got into my business, kid." The, there was this tension between them, but essentially at the end they kind of agreed that they have a common enemy, like something like a friendly way, because like they are not the same person. Like they are very very different, but they have the same
As
enemy.
evidenced by their dress sense.
Hmm?
Yeah, I mean, like, as evidenced by their dress sense as well. Because again, Lio Rush, he literally looks like he just came off the set of making like a rap album, whereas Nick Aldis's attire is it's something. I don't know what, but it's definitely something.
He's got that Ric
And
Flair grip.
oh yeah, definitely a little inspired by the Nature Boy there. And this promo by Lio Rush, it was definitely a good one. I mean, then again, he was Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece for a time, so he was definitely required to speak for the former world champion. So I'm not surprised he did a good job here, but also I'm amazed by his work inside the ring, as we will get to when we talk about that main event.
Next up, we have Swan and Sami Callihan versus Raj and Shera. This was a very.
Mm-hmm.
This was like it was. I'm not gonna say a nothing match because like it was pretty fun, but like this was basic wrestling in the sense that you get the team over, you get the team there who are have this big pay per view match, and you give them a victory. And lo and behold, shockingly, Swan and Callahan would win this match. What did you think of it overall?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like it's not. I wouldn't say it's a nothing match. It's pretty much a match designed to show the fans is like, okay, you're not convinced about like Swan and Callahan as a team. All right, here's this match to show that they have some sort of synergy, as a team. And I think the match did exactly what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, uh, this was a showcase match. I think that's a better word for it. Like, just a match which, like, showcase what the wrestlers can do. Introduce a new finisher, which was a pile driver spin kick combination, with Callahan holding, I believe, Raj in a pile driver, and Swan would do a little spin kick onto his head while in the pile driver position, and he'd go down. And
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, there's not much to say. Raj and Shera, I feel like they could be doing more. Well, to be fair, not a big Shera fan, but like, I feel like Raj, like, it's an interesting conversation because, like, on one hand, like, you need guys to job, right? Not everyone can be a winner, especially when you're going to your biggest pay per view of the year.
Exactly.
But
You don't need them utility players.
that's true. That's very true. But like, he did such a good job in the Steve Maclin's promo. No, not promo. Well,
Well,
he
the
did a
program.
program, yes,
Yeah.
and the promos in the program. There we go. That was
Yeah. Oh
intentional.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so like, I felt like he could have done more after that. Like, that was really a showcase feat for him. But like, he's kind of fallen back down the card, which I think is a shame because he's really coming to his own. He went from being like Rohit Raju's friend basically to like now just like really entertaining part of the lower mid card.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like the Daisy Hit Squad was kind of almost dead on arrival when it showed up, and it didn't get any better no matter who you threw in there. And, Raj definitely has come into his own on moments, especially the Macklin program, which is, it makes it, the fact Macklin's no longer a champion just a little bit disappointing because maybe this still would have given Raj more stuff to do as as the second banana or as the henchman to the world champion. But who knows? We'll see what happens. But again, they do some good work, and hey. You need people who can be able to do some good work, even if they're not always always in the spotlight.
This was just one of many segments on the show to set up the four way at the pay per view. We would
Mm-hmm.
have one immediately follow up this as Moose and Myers had a promo backstage
Yeah.
where they would essentially, well, more Moose than Myers would set up a match next week between them and Callahan and Swan. What do you think of this?
I definitely do like this makeshift pairing of Myers and Moose because, again, Myers is, for me, like, he's not a bad wrestler by any stretch, but he feels like he's more comfortable in the promo character area, whereas Moose, he he has that character about him, but it feels more of like the silent, stoic type of guy who would let his actions speak more than his words. So the fact that you got somebody who could do that, but have someone like Myers as his partner who could do most of the talking for him, it covers up both men's weaknesses, for lack of a better word, but also enhances their strengths. I love the part where when the match basically gets made, Myers gets so pissed at Gia Miller, and it's like, yeah, thanks, Gia. Now I gotta wrestle next week, and like Gia's like, yeah, you're welcome. It's like you gotta love Gia Miller. She's just such a great addition to the Impact roster, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, like, not much to say about this. It was quite a short segment, but Moose and Myers, like, they're a good team, but like, I have to say this about. I no no actually I'll save this point for later, because why not just like jump right into it later on in the show. Speaking of this program, we would have an ABC promo. Chris Bay and Ace Austin. Chris Bay, in my opinion, could be the biggest star in this company. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Mm.
And they were interrupted by the Rascals, a team which only returned like as a team last week. Zachary Wentz came into the company after his WWE and an indie run and
Mm.
reunited with Trey Miguel, and it seems like they're moving on already from attacking Chris Sabin. I guess they're just gonna forget about that, which is kind of weird in my opinion.
Yeah, the transition could have probably been a bit more smoother. I don't know, maybe like saving an ABC versus the Rascals and someone else, and then ABC pin Trey, which then helps facilitate their transition from the X Division to the world title scene. And that's I would think that would be a better way to do it. But also speaking of Trey, I'm about to say he probably got the easiest paycheck ever on this night, where it's like, all right, Trey, we need you to wear these sunglasses looking like Ray Charles, and you just out here eating food, drinking Gator, and just like flinging stuff across the place, all while Ace and Bay just look perplexed, like, what the hell is this guy doing right now? And also, I will say, the Rascals, for me, felt like they were so mishandled in their first run, in that, like, they were fun, but for me, it felt like they were being the jobber team to the stars. And also, it's not a good look when the only air quote time you won the tag belts was when, Trey Miguel, who wasn't in the match and was drunk, pinned, what Santana and Ortiz to win the belt. And they're like, nope, nope, that don't count because he wasn't in the match. And also, he's drunk. And it's like, nah. I think this might be the time they could be like, all right, we'll have you guys be a bit more serious and maybe put the belts on them, which yeah, you should, because they freaking deserve it, because they're that real, they're that talented.
I'm gonna get into my point now because yeah, we have established all of the tag stuff on this card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan. I think it's gonna be a great match, but I'm not a fan of this tag. Like, for me, tag wrestling is like one of the most important parts of your company. Like, I think it's gonna be like as important as the main event scene. So coming into Slammiversary, such a prestigious show, I wanted something like ABC versus Gresham and Bailey, ABC versus the Rascals if they're gonna be added into this match, which I think they are. Like, Zachary Wentz just returned to the company. He's not going to lose. They established that if Wentz beat Spain next week, he's gonna be the Rascals are gonna be added into this tag match, and like they are winning. Wentz is winning that match, and I think that's they're going to win the tag titles. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to overbloat your match in a match that's already, filled with a whole bunch of teams in there. And, just a little side mention, I'm glad that's, subculture is added into this match because, oh man, they 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 absolutely killed it in their match with ABC at Under Siege. I think I'd put that probably as like easily like in the top 5 best matches at Impact 2023 so far. But yeah, I think this match could definitely be the place where, ABC lose the belt without even needing to be pinned, or, they win the belt or they retain the belts, and this helps to eventually set up, that Rascals versus ABC match later on down the road.
Yeah. But like overall, tag division's pretty stacked right now. You love to see it, but I feel like they should focus on one or two teams rather than four or five.
Yeah. Though it is nice that Impact, feels confident enough that they can be like, look at all the teams we've got. Look at all of this. It's like, yeah, AEW's rubbing off on you guys. Now you're realizing, oh, wow, we can do this tag team thing and it gets over. But, it is what it is. You're glad to see it.
Anyways, next up we'd have a recap of BTI, which to be honest, I don't regularly watch BTI or ever watch BTI, but sometimes they have good stuff. They would have Santino Marella, who I did not expect to be reviewing on a podcast in 2023, but to be fair, he's done good work. And he is cutting a promo, a serious promo, which, again, shocking. A serious promo on Dirty Dango. He would call out Dango, like he'd call him a son of a bitch, which didn't expect from Santino, and I'm gonna keep mentioning this in 2023. Like, I don't know, this is like very interesting to me. I mean, I feel like Santino can I feel like Santino should lose this match. I don't think this match should be happening at this year, like a program between Santino, Dirty Dango, Fandango, and Heath Slater should not be happening in the year of our Lord 2023. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think of this?
Well, let me just say that last time I ever watched BTI was when they had like Josh Alexander defend the X Division title against like TJP in that Iron Man match, which gives you an idea just how long ago this was when I last saw BTI. But as you said with like, the stuff with Dango, Santino, and Heath, it's like it's fine, but it's not really anything that I would, completely invested in. It just feels like, it's there basically. It's like, I get it. It's comedic stuff, and some people will like their comedic stuff in the wrestling. I think Johnny Swinger is a prime example of that. But for me, this just feels like WWE leftovers being given a platform on Impact, but they're basically allowed to, have better, longer matches and be able to curse, which, okay, great, but, once you've been associated in the E for so long, it's going to be hard for people to disassociate you from what you used to do to what you're doing right now. There are some who are good at it, but I don't think these guys are definitely good at that, and especially with Heath Slater, whose run has been had a few good moments, but had a bit of a dud. What do you think?
Slater's run has not been great. I mean, I had a lot of hope when he came into the company because like he came in looking jacked for one. I feel like he had like these great moments in WWE that like showed what he can do, and he never really had the opportunity to really showcase himself, and he's gotten that opportunity in Impact, and like now I don't blame WWE anymore because he's just kind of boring, in my opinion at least. Like, I'm not looking forward to seeing him on my television anymore. Like, Dirty Dango would cut a promo like after they showed the recap on Santino and on Heat, and like Dango is the best part of this in my opinion. I really enjoyed Dango's work recently.
Me too.
Like the unique promos he does, fantastic television in my opinion. Like he came to this company and I was like, why are you bringing Fandango in, you know? But he turned heel, and ever since then it's been a home run in my opinion, and I think he can move on to really, really good stuff. I just feel like he needs to get away from the Heath Slaters and the Santinos to really establish himself as more than just an ex-WWE guy.
Yeah, again, like when he came as the dancing fool, I'm like, oh my god, are we really doing this again? We just had that with like No Way Jose, and that basically bombed. Now we're doing this again, but then when he started to turn heel in these promos, I was like, oh wait, are y'all seriously about to make me care about Dirty Dango / Fandango in 2023? And really, the answer to that question is yes. And this is some good stuff. I agree that he needs to move away from this stuff here. And again, I don't know what program that he could be put in that would help elevate his stock, but I would trust Impact would be the company to make that type of decision on how to elevate this guy, because I feel like there's a lot of good you can do, and this stuff here can only with the mid card WWE guys can only go so far.
Yeah, I mean, like, not much to say other than that. Dango did a good promo. I'm excited for his future, but like this feels like a speed bump in what could be a really good Impact run for Dango.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have probably the match of the night in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Angels, Jonathan Gresham. What did you think of this?
I will admit this was a good match. The first half of it kind of was a bit clunky for me because of the whole times that Alan Angels had to constantly stop or was talked to by Dina to and the back and forth. It kind of hurt the momentum in places for the match, but I feel like as we got to towards the end of the second and into the third gear of this match is when they not only had the momentum, but they kept it rolling until the very end, where Gresham puts it in that octopus stretch and basically makes Angels tap out. And honestly, this was definitely a solid match. I would love to see these two do it again, this time maybe without all the design, shenanigans and whatnot. But again, it's definitely a win for Gresham, who's definitely gonna need that momentum going into that Ultimate X match at Slammiversary. But of course, there was a little post-match stuff that happened afterwards involving Gresham, Angels, and the design.
Yes, there was. So Gresham was win. Very good match. I'm a big fan of Alan Angels. I'm a big fan of Gresham. So this match felt like it was catered to me.
Mm.
And after the match, Gresham, they just had a great match. Fans loved it. Seems like Gresham and the Angels loved it. He offered his hand. Cody Deaner wasn't a fan of that at all.
Oh, he wasn't.
And he started screaming, get here, come here, come here. And Alan Angels was going out the ring to leave, but then, stopped himself, looked at Gresham and was like, I don't have to listen to you. I was listening to people in the Dark Order. Now I'm listening to you. It's time to be my own man. So he essentially said, I'm done. Which is huge, basically. This faction has been around in Impact since late 2020, and this is the weakest it's ever been, but nothing like a bad TV sense, although the stable has had some pretty bad TV in its history. More so how do you say,
needs to be
intentional sense.
freshened up, basically.
Like, yeah, it's the story sense. Like, this is a part of the story that the faction is falling apart. And to be fair, to be honest, I think this was the best move. I think the Callahan story was a complete dud, which
Yeah.
Impact fans agreed with. Like,
I mean, it really didn't do anything for Callahan, to be honest. It's like, this guy is like former world champion, was feuding with likes of Moose and whatnot months earlier, and now he's like in this feud with the watered down version of Violent by Design, basically, and he's gonna try and join the group, even though they don't want him to be a part of it. And now all of a sudden, now he's a part of the group, and he's like, oh, he's gonna turn heel. It's like, we all know what's gonna happen. When are we gonna reach to the obvious conclusion, which Callahan turns on the group? Big shock. And honestly, at this point, I feel like this group is just treading water, and whether it's like a new storyline or new members being added, they just need a little something to, freshen it up. Because again, it just feels like we're just trudging along. And honestly, I'm glad Angels is no longer a part of the group, because I feel like he was the breakout star, and I feel like he can be able to be his own man without to be shackled to the group. Though that said, feel like Angel's gonna get one heck of a receipt by the design, especially when it comes to that Ultimate X match at Slammiversary.
I feel like Impact's best move would be to wrap this up quick because Alan Angels, I think, has a lot of potential. I'm a big fan of Angels. I feel like if Impact were to, have Diener kind of manage Khan, because like Diener, not a great wrestler, but a really, really good promo, in my opinion. I think he's overhated in the Impact community. Because,
Absolutely.
because like he gets bad content, but like his delivery is fantastic. The way he speaks, the way he has his facial expressions, like he's genuinely really good at what he does. The menacing look on his face, it's perfect. His appearance with the bald head and like the white jacket, like I think he does really good work in Impact. But like here's the
Honest.
Hmm?
Oh no, I was about to say I agree with you. And again, if it becomes to a point where it's like Dina just becomes the manager for like Khan, and he becomes like an upper main event type of upper main event or mid card act, I'm fine with that, because I don't really see where else you can go with this group at this point. But again, if there was ever a company who could take something that looks like it's treading water and find some way to freshen it up and make me even care, even for just a bit, I definitely would trust Impact to be that company to do that.
Absolutely, and like I also feel both Angels and Gresham should be like the focal points of the tag division. I was thinking of my dreams of Bailey and Gresham becoming tag champions, which looks unlikely because they're fighting again. But like, they should become focal points of the X division, in my opinion.
Yeah, and honestly, this Ultimate X match is like, it's kind of hard to pick, because I mean, there's so many people in this where I'm like, this could go either way, because like the only one going in this with really a storyline per se is Angels, but the design will go in there and costume. Bailey, Gresham, I could see win, but really they don't really have much of anything going into this. Kushida's in it, which is fine, and another New Japan star is in there as well, which again, this is gonna be a great match. But really, outside of Angels, nobody's going into this with really much in the way of like a storyline or anything of the sort here, which is a bit of a disappointment. But then again, sometimes the best matches don't usually always need to have a good storyline. You just need to have them go in the ring and then tell that story with, all the flips and hardcore submission moves and all that other type of stuff.
This is gonna be a fantastic match. I feel like the lack of story is going to. It's not. It's going to like. It's gonna hurt the TV, but like when the pay per view comes, you're not gonna care because you're gonna see these guys doing fantastic wrestling. I think they're going to steal the show. I think Gresham is the clear winner, honestly, because like you look at this. I think Kushida is probably the most likely to win, but Gresham is Gresham should be the winner because I feel like giving Gresham the win, having him turn heel, having him go on this like Doug Williams X Division title run would be fantastic television.
And it also would be good as well because we know that the X Division are mostly a cruiserweight, a high flying type of division, but you have a guy who can not only do high flying, but he's also can be very strong in the ring with power moves, but also very technical and pick apart his opponents as well. So that would mean the opponents would have to, shake, change up their game plan when they're taking this guy on. If that, if Gresham ever does become the X Division champion, which I do think should happen, and if it does ever happen, I have him be as a heel because Gresham to me kind of is like the Bobby Roode in a situation where it's like when you put the belt on him and you allow him to just be the biggest bastard ever and he's allowed to do anything and everything to win, that's where it's like, oh, you're really getting to see the best of this character. And the fact that they're a champion as well makes it even better.
Speaking of champions, we would see Deonna Purazzo's locker room. I have to I have to like skip forwards because I wanted to do the segue so badly. So it's like, screw Trinity walking to the locker room. No, we have to go to Deonna's locker room, which just so happens to be being knocked on by Trinity. Therefore, the segment works. The segue works. So yeah, Trinity knocks on the door. Like they're very passive aggressive to each other in this segment, and essentially it ends off by saying, "Hey, I don't want your help. I don't want you to help me. I don't want to help you." And they kind of agree not to help each other. And Deonna having an open challenge next week. Very interesting stuff. Who do you think is gonna answer the open challenge, and what did you think of this segment overall?
I thought this segment it pretty much did what it needed to, where it's basically a case where it's like, yeah, well, thanks for the help, but I don't need your help. You don't need my help, and I'm gonna prove to you why I don't need your help because I'm gonna challenge somebody in that locker room to face me, and I'll show you why the Virtuosa is, the Iron Lady of the Knockouts division. Now, as is opposed to who will face her or who will accept, I should say. Oh, gee, honestly, I'm not really sure because I mean, the likeliest. I mean, if I had to take a stab at it, I'm guessing. I don't know, maybe Jody Threat. I guess. Again, this is a wild guess, but I feel like you know, I feel like that would definitely be a good match. And she's kind of not doing much at the moment, right this minute. So that'd be another good way to reintroduce her back, onto the TV screens, if anything.
Yeah, I would agree on Jodie Trett. To be honest, if it was anyone like a big surprise for one, that would be dumb because you're 2 days away from a pay per view, and also,
Yeah.
realistically speaking, we would have seen at the very least knockouts returns to company, knockout debuts in company because this is a taped show.
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
I don't like expect anyone like major to show up, but like a fun little match with a fun TV match. Like Impact are really stacking up next week's show with like some real fun stuff. Like I've heard Kevin Knight versus Mike Bailey, which was also announced for next week, was a complete
Mhm.
banger, which does not surprise me considering who's involved.
Exactly.
Anyways, we move on next to PCO versus the Good Hands, and I have to get my shit off before we talk about this match. I
Go ahead.
am devastated that they split up Brian Myers and the Good Hands. Devastated.
Honestly, I'm really surprised, that they did because it's like it feel like this had some legs, in it. Just feel like to me it was like if for any of you who know your WWE history, Myers and Zack Ryder were like the edgehead. They were like running buddies for, Edge back in the day. And to me, this felt like something like that, where Myers could be the Edge to the good hands, would be the edge heads in this situation, where it's like, I'll take you under my learning tree and I'll help you become champions, because who better to make you a tag champion than a multiple time tag champion, like the most professional wrestler. And then they just dropped it. Now, whether they dropped it because they thought, oh, Moose re-signed with the company, and we kind of still have this storyline between Myers and Moose as a team, so we still got to capitalize that. Or maybe had Moose not re-signed, they still would have done more with the Myers good hands thing. That's pure speculation on my end. But yeah, it is a shame, because I do feel like they could have done a lot more with it, and it felt just so organic.
Before I continue with what I'm gonna say now, I really liked what they did after this match. So like overall, the story gets a thumbs up. But the match in general, I did not like, because I'm not gonna say a big fan, but I'm a fan of Jason Hodge. I think he has like Ace Austin, Chris Bay levels of potential. Like he has potential to be the next homegrown star. Is what I'm trying to say. Like for Impact.
Yeah, I get you.
And these guys were like kind of lower mid card guys that kind of like decay for a really long time, and they were finally coming into their own, getting like tag title matches. Jason Hodge beat, I believe, either Ace Austin or Chris Bay, which was huge. Like, I really felt like they were coming into their own, and like in this match, they got completely squashed by PCO. Like, did they even get like a move in?
I mean, at best, like the only moves they did was double team punching PCO, and that's basically it, before PCO just did his best. No sold it, basically, which again is like much like the Shira Singh match versus, Callahan and Swan. This match did what it was supposed to do. But by the same token, it does feel a bit jarred, not only from, how Myers just dropped the good hands like a bad habit to go reform his partnership with Moose, but it also feels like a step backwards when you realize that the good hands had perhaps the best match they've had as a team with ABC at Against All Odds, and how, again, that match I feel like was on par with the ABC's match with Subculture. And again, to see how they went from having that banger of a match to then be like, all right, guys, that was fun. All right, now you're getting jobbed out to PCO in about, 3 minutes. Good luck. And it's like, okay, so it's like, all right, now we're backpedaling for some reason. But again, I get it. You need some people to job, and they are good hands. So there's going to be somebody you need to squash. I guess they're the guys.
This was a match that really set up a segment. Like the match,
pretty much.
The match's point was just to get the guys in the ring, because like after the match, like Scott D'Amore would come into the ring. He was on commentary, and Jason Hodge would slap him, and Scott D'Amore would beat the living hell out of Jason Hodge, which was kind of weird to see, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Then Bully Ray's music hits, and D'Amore's like, staring him off. Like he's distracted. PCO's distracted looking there, and then Maclin comes in, low blows PCO. They take out D'Amore, Bully Ray, Steve Maclin, and even Jason Hodge, which was kind of weird considering Bully Ray dissed Jason Hodge and they just like didn't acknowledge it.
And also makes you wonder, where did John Schuyler go? Basically, it's like, oh, okay, I guess he's just playing dead. What do you need to get the table? It's like, oh, okay, Hodge, all right, go right ahead. It's just like, but yeah.
But like, so they handcuffed Scott D'Amore to the rope, and they put PCO to the table, but they weren't done there. And like, this is where things get crazy.
This is where shit got real interesting. They threw him all the way down like a ramp into a certain part of the building, and I like this little moment where Maclin is literally grabs the doors and he just closes them. It's like, no, you can't see what's about to happen here. It's like, oh no, what we about to do is too violent for y'all. And then we get to that point where they start beating up PCO with the steel chair. You got Maclin, throwing, I'm guessing, what appears to be maybe some form of gasoline down
Battery acid.
PCO's. Oh, it was what?
Battery acid.
Oh, battery acid. Oh, yeah, yeah. So battery acid down his throat, which, ugh. But of course, as horrific as that was, they were like, "Oh no, 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 no! That was the appetizer. We about to bring you the main course, cause then you got Bully basically getting the lighter fluid, pouring it all over the very big jacket of PCO, gets the match, drops it. PCO screams in agony and in pain before dropping himself and presumably the camera, because it then just stops for that brief second and PCO has been burned to a crisp. Question mark.
This was fantastic. I feel like I'm all for, like, I don't like goofy wrestling when it's bad, obviously. Like I said up there, like, when you have, like, the Fiend being burnt alive, I did not like that. But PCO's character, stuff like this just kind of works. The intensity of this, like, saying, like, like, they were saying, like, choke on it, like, which is actually inappropriate now to think about this.
Yeah. I was actually, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wait, why are you pouring what at first I thought was gasoline? Like, why are you pouring it down his throat? Are you hoping he chokes on it? Was like, no, it was battery acid. But then when I saw him try to light him on fire, I'm like, y'all realize this man has been buried alive, got bombed with cinder blocks and God knows what else. Like, I think you might need to do a bit more than that to keep this guy down. But I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But what are your thoughts?
Great segment, like, Bully Ray, I feel like his run is overhated, honestly, because, like, there were some stuff I really did not like. I did not like his stuff with Tommy Dreamer at all.
Yeah, it's like it's safe to say, mates, is it 2011 or is it 1999 anymore? Like that, y'all, well, Bully, you can still go. Dreamer, nobody wants to see you wrestle, mate. It's like, although I will say that hardcore war match at Rebellion, oh my God, that was tremendous. Now, obviously, it wasn't just tremendous because of Dreamer and Bully. No, everybody else did their part, but I will say, I think when Bully gets hate, because not only is he a natural heel, but I think when he beat Maclin to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet
Mm.
last year, and then it's like, oh, now he's going to fight for the world title. Oh, look at this, LOL TNA, oh, they'll never change, and all that type of stuff. But then again, when that match happened, bit overbooked, it was a solid match. Also, it shows you how much faith they have in their women that they're like, yeah, we're about to put the world title as the opening match. I don't think that's ever happened in Impact history, so that's a first right there.
Here's something else interesting. You mentioned Josh Alexander versus Bully Ray, right? A lot of history. Josh Alexander versus Steve Maclin, a lot of history, right?
Yeah.
Scott Demore would be looking for a PCO later, and, like, Gia Miller was coming and be like, hey, what are you gonna do? Is PCO cleared for the match? And it made me start to think, is this how they reintroduce Josh Alexander?
On one hand, I could see why some would think that, but honestly, I wouldn't, because honestly, I feel like if you're gonna bring Josh back, especially after that heart wrenching, you know, relinquishing of the world title, it feel like it should be more special than just wheeling him out to just this matchup here, basically. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, like, I don't. Personally, I think that it's a bad idea in the sense that, like, not a bad idea, I think it would be fine, but, like, the better idea, I think that's a better phrase for it, would be to have him go after Aldis. I think Aldis versus Alexander is the biggest male feud Impact has in their, like, the biggest male feud they can do in their company right now.
Yeah. And also, I wonder though, like, it is safe to say that, after the tapings that they had in Australia, that there
Ooh.
were reports that Maclin was injured. So going into this match, I wonder, like, how much can Maclin be able to do? Is Bully gonna have to take much of the bumps or anything? And after all, this is not only after the tapings, but Maclin also got one hell of a scar on his head from his match with PCO at Under Siege as well. So yeah, the last several months have not been so good for the former Forgotten Son when it comes to racking up injuries. So, but overall, I think, regardless what happens, I think it's going to be a special attraction, nostalgia type of match that, that fans are going to, probably not either care too much of or they're just going to like it for what it is.
So overall, I would say good stuff here. Something which something which we will debate whether it's good or not is coming next. I was trying to think of a segue because that's the theme of this channel. um,
Yeah.
is Courtney Rush versus Giselle Shaw. Giselle Shaw. There we go. What did you think of this match?
It was a good match. I mean, honestly, that's really all I can say. I mean, it's like Giselle's not really doing much of anything right now, and the Death Dolls, they're trying to, get back to what they once were so they can win back the tag belts. But I think I speak for when I say, no, please don't hurry in that regard because, again, it's like, and I like Jessica and Courtney Rush / Rosemary, but it's fair to say you can only change your gimmicks and alter ego so many times. But
Yeah.
regardless, it's still the same people. It's the same style of match. And yeah, there's one team I would like to see win it. It's this team of Masha and Killer Kelly, basically, because at least they're doing something it's different from what we've seen with the Death Dolls, basically. But overall, I think this was a good match. I feel like this was kind of more of like the calm down match following the whole we just may have burned a man alive segment that happens. But yeah, overall good match. What about you? What are your thoughts of this bout?
Pretty basic match to be honest. Like nothing bad with that, but like there's just not many notes to go through. I mean, Giselle won. The only like real thought I have is like Impact seemed to be going. As time goes on, I kind of realize how much Impact values Giselle Shaw in the sense that like she's a part of like reality shows and stuff like that. Not reality shows, but she was part of like this Canadian show, I believe. They mentioned it on
I think
commentary.
it's like the Amazing Race or something like that with Gail Kim that they were involved in or did some tapings for, which hey, whichever way you can get it, more people to hear about or promote Impact, I'm all for it. And I think she's definitely a good ambassador in terms of promoting, Impact. And again, just great to have her here, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean like so yeah, overall good stuff. I think Giselle Shaw is like a very promising talent. I think she could become a world champion eventually, knockout champion.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, as well, especially with her entourage of Jay Vidal and Savannah Evans, who, by the way, helped her basically, give enough of a distraction for the quintessential diva, to pick up the W, in this matchup here. So, good for Shaw. Courtney Rush, to say, is back to the drawing board, basically, because that match was the opposite of sick.
Yeah. Next up, speaking of sick, we would have a Joe Hendry. So Kenny King and Sheldon Jean would be walking, and this fan would come up and be like, "Hey, can I have your autograph?" And then she would put money in Kenny King's pants, And like essentially
Oh,
the story of this was like ever since
Stripper
that
Kenny.
ever since that stripper Kenny song that people have that's what people know Kenny King as now.
Yeah,
So
because that was used to be what he. I think that's what he used to do, either before or in between, like his wrestling career. Which, hey, you know what, man? You make your money however you can, but yeah, it's never a good thing when you're wrestling Joe Hendry because if you got one thing that you're like, I don't want anybody to know, and you're wrestling this guy, he's going to not only exploit it, he's going to make a song out of it and parody the heck out of it. And it's like, yeah, good luck living that down.
yeah, I mean like overall like so they would say Joe Hendry's name or they would say the sentence say his name and then
And
they'd
he
be
should be here.
like and then they'd be like we have a 2-on-1 advantage so why wouldn't we beat you up right now. And then Joe Hendry would say, all I have to do is say his name, and Yuya Uemura would appear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was like, it wasn't like a crazy segment, but like, I'm a fan of it because I'm a fan of everyone involved. I think Sheldon, Jean, and Yuya could be future stars of this company. Like, they are guys who the company are going to be building towards in their future. Then you have Joe Hendry, who I think could be a world champion in this company, like, absolutely.
Yeah, he's definitely helped to elevate the digital media championship. Like nothing against the other names, particularly Jordan Grace and Brian Myers. I think they did phenomenal work with that belt. But I feel like Joe Hendry's really helped to elevate it. Like it's still a lower tier belt, but it feels more like people have kind of been like, okay, why did Impact spend all this time hyping this up to it's like okay, well, yeah, this is like that thing for those who are kind of middling in the mid card right now type of belt, which considering Impact's history with mid card belts, it's nice to know that this one feels like it's has a purpose and it's sticking around. And also, it's good that they're giving Yuya something as well. Because again, there's one thing Impact knows how to do is that you know what we're gonna try and keep people featured or bring them up in like little things just to make sure you know that hey, we haven't forgot about them. They're still here.
I also have to shout out Kenny King because I think that he's been doing incredible work in the past like 6 months or so.
Yeah, I feel like this his second run feels like far better than his first one. Now, in terms of the first one, obviously more championship success and part of the beatdown plan and all of that stuff, which is great. But for me, it just feels like this second run just feels like, you know, he's given more stuff to do and it feels more consistent with, you know, his booking, which again, it's just great when impact and consistency just blends well together.
He's a fixture in the upper mid card where you can kind of slot him with like the main eventers and the mid carders whenever you want, and it would feel natural.
Agreed.
Speaking of main eventers, we have. That's a hell of a segue. I'm sorry, I'm gonna.
Yep, now it's time for the main event itself.
Let's go. The Motor City Machine Guns versus Lio Rush and Nick Aldis. What did you think of this match?
I would have to say that if it wasn't for like the stop-start momentum of Gresham versus Angels, I would have said that would have been match of the night. I think this main event has definitely was match of the night. I mean, the machine guns, you can never fault them. They're always the best at what they do, especially as a tag team. Everybody in this match was just phenomenal. And honestly, I think the right side won in this case because and I'm glad Lio Rush was the one who picked up the victory because again, you know, he had just showed up the week prior attacking, you know, Chris Sabin. And I think between showing what he can do in the ring with this match and picking up the win, you know, this gives fans a reason to be a bit invested as opposed to, you know, just a group of fans who are like, oh wow, dream match. oh, Lio Rush versus Chris Sabin. It's like, all right, well, yes, that's a reason to want to see this match, but let's give you a storyline reason for why you should care about this type of match. And again, even if the storyline itself isn't strong, is it really going to matter? It's going to be Chris Sabin versus Lio Rush for the X Division title. I mean, you know that's going to be a banger of a match and probably match of the night, which is going to be hard because this card for Slammiversary is filled to the brim with match of the year quality type of bouts.
Lio Rush gives me Amazing Red vibes in the way he moves.
Oh, definitely.
Like, okay, so to talk about this match, I think it was a great match, like a very fun match. I was very conflicted about the match happening though because I feel like Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin get their asses kicked too many times. Like it feels like during their entire run so far, it's just like them getting beat up every week.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I feel like they're at this stage in their careers where they're like, you want to know what? It's like we're not afraid to put over the up and coming stars, or we'll eat a loss so long as it makes good storyline sense. Which I agree because that loss to ABC, it helped elevate them even more since, as we've seen with what they've been doing and the quality of their matches. And, Sabin eating the loss to Lio Rush again, makes good storyline sense, and they'll build up that storyline as well. So I do think, like, you know what, they're still putting on some solid matches. Despite the fact they've been in this wrestling for 20 some odd years, and again, which is impressive. But I think we're at a point where they can, like, we'll eat the losses so long as the match quality is still top notch and it makes good storyline sense.
I mean that's a fair point. The only counter argument I have to this is Sabin and Shelley have to win in my opinion because if not, then I feel like their title reigns would have been remembered as really weak. Or at least Shelley.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, as well as like, if like, as I said, with like when Rush picked up the victory, I was like, it's like I know they'll be like, oh wow, he just been the X Division champion now and that also would work for like people who think like, oh wait, why did this guy get a shot at the title? He didn't deserve it. Well, he just been the champion. Okay, now he does deserve it, and also I think we can all figure that unless Lio Rush is like a full-time deal or things or something, I think Sabin is gonna probably retain the belt at Slammiversary. I would like to see Lio Rush win it, but his history of like kind of flaking out of promotions, I'm retiring type of stuff makes it kind of a liability to put a belt on him. So again, great wrestler, but sorry, man, when you've done it, retired more times than Ric Flair, uh, it's like I'm not sure I want to see you as a champion, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that. I get that. Like personally, like maybe he was going through mental stuff, so like I kind of like give it like I don't like hold it against him, but I could totally see like from a business standpoint, which is what Impact should be looking at this as, it would be a liability. So as great of a talent he is, you have to sign into a contract before you like really make any moves to establish him over your sign stars.
Precisely.
So overall, first review, what did you think of the show?
I definitely say this was a very solid show. There wasn't too much in the way of talking points outside of like, Tracy Brooks is going to be in Kazarian's corner for Kazarian's match with Eddie Edwards, and PCO got set on fire. Not too much, but it was still a solid night of action. And I feel like when it comes to next week's episode, oh boy, it's gonna feel very different because not only is it gonna be action, but we're gonna be gonna be throwing everything to get people hyped up for Slammiversary, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I would say this is like a solid 7 out of 10. I feel like there's a lot of. Honestly, I would say that there was a lot of newsworthy stuff on the show, personally, because you had Alan Angel's leave the design. You had PCO burn alive, I guess.
Pretty much.
You had Eddie Edwards versus Kazarian. You had the return of Tracy Brooks, or the announced return of Tracy Brooks. Like, there was like a decent amount of stuff like sprinkled into the show. But a lot of it was also just like kind of establishing Slammiversary, like announcing matches, having promos, setting up matches. Like nothing like new is getting made. It's just like developing what we already know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So overall, I think this was a great episode to start off with. I've been Cosk. You can find me at Cosk151. And where can they find you?
Well, they can mostly find me on Twitter at Fullerton Hakeem. And also, if you're interested in anything that is wrestling related articles, I happen to be a seasoned veteran on that. In fact, I recently wrote an article for a website. Y'all might have heard of it. It is Discuss PW, where I wrote a article on the top 10 Slammiversary pay-per-views, and I would really appreciate if y'all gave it a look and y'all told me what y'all think about it.
Thank you for joining. Make sure to subscribe.